Hey guys, my name is David Green and welcome back to episode 18 of Supernatural Archives. And today we'll be diving into a story many know the name of, but not the story behind it, the Headless Horseman. Please feel free to sit back, relax, cut the lights, and lock the doors, cause it's story time. The Revolutionary War was drawing to a close, leaving behind a battered land soaked with blood and strewn with the dead. Among the Hessian mercenaries sent by German princes to fight for the British was Henry Lautendale, a man whose soul had long been consumed by the love of carnage. He reveled in the chaos of war, a shadow on horseback whose saber gleamed as he cut through enemies without hesitation. But fate had other plans. On a misty battlefield near the Hudson River, his horse reared in terror, struck by a musket ball. As the beast toppled, Lautendale was strewn to the ground, his saber clattering away. Before he could rise, colonial soldiers emerged from the brush. Outnumbered and disarmed, he fought like a demon, but the end came swift and brutal. The soldiers decided to take his head. As the blade swung down, the last thing Henry saw was a crimson-streaked horizon. His head rolled off the cliffside into the river below, lost forever. His decapitated body was buried in a nameless grave in a desolate cemetery, the locals too feared by his savagery to risk proper rites. The new nation thrived, its constitution written in ideals taking root. Yet some shadows lingered. The abandoned cemetery where Lautendale was buried had fallen into ruin, a place of whispered rumors and fearful glances. On a chill October evening, 5 children from a nearby village dared to test their bravery. Mary, the oldest at 14, led the group, her lantern flickering as they stumbled through the iron gates. Her younger brother Tom followed reluctantly, gripping a stick as if it would protect him. The others, Nathan, Samuel, and little Grace, huddled close. They whispered and giggled, brushing away the unease that prickled their skin. The cemetery felt alive, the wind sighing through the trees like a mournful ghost. When Mary's lantern illuminated a gravestone with no name, just etched the year, 1782, they paused. "This must be it," she whispered. The others leaned closer, their breaths visible in the cold air. The ground beneath the stone looked disturbed, as if something had clawed its way out. "Maybe it's just animals," Nathan offered, though his voice wavered. But then they heard it, a faint, rhythmic sound, the clatter of hooves. The children turned, lantern lights swinging wildly. Out of the mist galloped a massive black stallion, its rider towering figure cloaked in darkness. Where his head should have been, there was only a gaping void. The Headless Horseman raised his black sword, his blade seemingly absorbing all light from around it. The group scattered, their shrieks piercing through the night. Mary grabbed Grace's hand, dragging her toward the gate, but the horseman was swift. With an unearthly roar, he bore down on Nathan first. The boy tripped, his cry for help cut short as the sword descended, severing him cleanly. His body clumped lifelessly to the ground, crimson pooling beneath him. Mary glanced back, her scream catching in her throat as the horseman turned his empty gaze on them. Tom and Samuel darted through the twisted paths, their lungs burning. "We have to hide," Tom whispered frantically. They ducked behind a crumbling mausoleum, holding their breath. The sound of hooves grew louder, then stopped. Samuel peeked out and the horseman was there, dismounted, his massive frame blocking the moonlight. The sword swung, and Samuel's scream echoed throughout the cemetery. Tom bolted, tears streaming down his face as the sound of Samuel's body hitting the ground followed him. Mary and Grace ran deeper into the cemetery, the lantern their only guide. "We'll be safe at the church," Mary lied, clutching Grace's trembling hand. But the horseman had mounted again. The stallion's glowing eyes looked on them. It charged, the ground trembling beneath its hooves. Mary pushed Grace into a thicket. "Stay here," she commanded, running to the horseman to draw him away. The headless figure dismounted, striding towards Mary with terrifying speed. She swung the lantern, shattering it against her chest. Flames burst briefly, illuminating his skeletal armor, but they did nothing to slow him down. His sword fell, and Mary crumpled. Grace sobbed in the bushes, her small hands clasped over her mouth. She remained frozen until she felt a cold hand grip her shoulder. She looked up into the void where a face should be. The last thing she saw was the gleaming sword descending. By dawn, the village had found the cemetery empty, save for blood-stained grass and broken gravestones. The children were never seen again, but their screams haunted the elders' dreams. Every 20 years, the Headless Horseman rises, fueled by rage and despair. For 3 nights, he terrorizes the countryside, his wrath indiscriminate. Homes are left abandoned, villages turn to ghost towns as families flee the cursed ground. To this day, the cemetery remains untouched, hidden behind gnarled trees and brambles. Locals speak of the horseman in hushed tones, warning travelers to avoid the area. And yet, every generation, there are those who dare to disbelieve, drawn by morbid curiosity. The horseman waits, his sword ever sharp, his rage eternal. For those who wander too close, there is no escape. The curse of Henry Lawtendale lives on. And that's it for today. I wanted to try my hand at one of my personal favorite campfire stories, so I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time.